Good evening, good people, and welcome to the evening edition of the news in English on Canal International, the last for the week. It is 6:15 p.m. across Cameroon this October 28. As usual, we kickstart the session with the headlines.
International relations experts urge SAMAK heads of state to take measures against Equatorial Guinea for the cruel treatment meted on Cameroonians. Say their action is a breach of regional integration clauses. A private radio in Yaoundé suspended by the National Communication Council for broadcast of unverified information. Joe Chibonken Kalabopse has equally cautioned journalists of two private television stations to read their professional scripts. The 6:15 news comes up in a split second with Tariki Divine, Ramsey Jr.
You heard in one of our lead stories, foreign nationals residing illegally in Equatorial Guinea continue to be gripped by panic as the days unfold following an October 20 decision by the authorities of that Central African nation to kick them out. Amongst them are Cameroonian nationals who have been flocking to border localities in bids to find safe havens. Up next, Stephanie Chin ushers us to QC in the south of Cameroon, where she says hundreds of desolate-looking Cameroonians have been arriving since the start of this week. Here's her report.
In the last 48 hours, over 250 Cameroonian nationals expelled from Equatorial Guinea have successfully crossed the border into the country. According to our reporters monitoring the unfolding developments at Cliquez in the south region, the men, women and children flocking into the border town all look hungry and downcast. It was horrible. They just came and picked up everyone with their goods. For example, I have a restaurant that I've just opened with all my funds. They just came and picked up everything. Many say they were forced to abandon their savings and property as police officers abruptly rounded them up and packed them into vehicles headed for the border. More arrivals are expected in the days ahead following an October 20 decision by Equatorial Guinean authorities to deport all foreigners residing in the country without valid documents. Among the expelled Cameroonian nationals are some who say they have lived and invested money in assorted businesses across Equatorial Guinea for 5 and in some cases up to 10 years. Some accuse the Equatorial Guinean police of maltreatment in the deportation process. I visited a friend who was in prison. When I went, he asked for cigarettes and a loaf of bread to try to eat something. But on my way out, I saw a policeman whom I knew well, and he asked me to present myself. He searched my bag and said I did not have a residence permit. That's how I left home with no dresses. I spent 5 days in jail. They searched everyone they arrested. They took my 120,000 francs and my parcel. There's even a woman there in prison. Meantime, the Cameroonian consulate in Bata has announced plans by the government to facilitate the repatriation for Cameroonians willing to return home. A first batch of 15 persons will benefit from the largesse this Saturday, October 29.
Now let's stay another while on that story, because following increasing reports of the cruel treatment being suffered by members of the Cameroonian community across Equatorial Guinea, Pan-Africanists are calling on SAMAK leaders to consider retaliatory measures. They say the attitude of the authorities in Malabo contrasts efforts towards regional integration. Hyacinth Chia.
They were bundled out from their neighboring country, Equatorial Guinea, without any iota of mercy. Thousands of Cameroonians rough-handled and thrown across the borders like slaves. A behavior these internationalists describes as inhuman and a threat to solidarity within the CEMAC sub-region, which to an extent is hampering progress in different spheres.
Cela pose le problème de l'intégration.
It poses the problem of integration, a crisis within the sub-region. People not accepting one another, despite the fact that we speak the same language, same culture, and share the same boundaries. Sentiments of reject of Cameroonians, and this is not the first time. Guinea should know that integration is an element of power. It is only through integration that we can improve economically within the sub-region. We are late. Countries are developing in blocks. Despite a cordial relationship that exists between President Paul Biya of Cameroon and Teodoro Obiangema of Equatorial Guinea, Cameroonians in Guinea have often been treated as outcasts. It is therefore high time that CEMAC heads of state took stringent measures to call Guinea back to order. It is time for the President of the Republic to hit hands on the table for such to stop. Guinea has proven to be a bad student in the integration process, so she needs to be punished. And after the punishment, the heads of states must sit together and seek solutions for both citizens. And unlike the barbaric treatment meted out on Cameroonians in Guinea, the thousands of Guineans residing in Cameroon live and carry on their economic activities in peace and tranquility.
Now let's come back home and move on to something else, because the practice of journalism is quite delicate, as it requires utmost accuracy in the dissemination of information. And so whenever lapses occur, media regulators begin pulling out the whips. That's exactly what the National Communication Council in Cameroon is up to, as it has once again pronounced sanctions on a private radio station in the capital, Yaoundé, for the propagation of unverified information, plus throwing invectives on targeted individuals. Meeting at an ordinary session Thursday in Yaoundé, the council president, Joseph Chebonkeng, seized the opportunity to warn other journalists of 2 TV stations following observations of their wayward practice of the profession. We'll be coming back to that story in greater detail when we come around next week. Back to Douala, it is journey end, at least for the time being, for these individuals who have fallen into the dragnet of the judicial police. The 4 you will see on your screens at the moment are suspected to have successfully staged multi-form robberies across various parts of the city in recent weeks, surrendering people and making away with valuable items, as well as breaking into the homes and business premises of others and cutting away assorted items. 3 of the suspects are reportedly on the run, and the police are recommending vigilance and collaboration from the public to be able to track them down. Those images were put together for us by Sherifa Saleh, who also gave us the opportunity to hear from Commissioner Arsene Esono of the Judicial Police Department in Douala.
During the past 3 or 4 months, we had complaints of many cases of theft. These cases of theft were done in many quarters of Douala, like Bonanjo, Bonaprizo, Deido, and Newben.
Sincerely, Sherifa Saleh. Now, complaints over power cuts have become commonplace almost all across Cameroon. In Ombe, in the southwest region of the country, the situation is particularly dire for schoolgoers, as they complain that the power cuts have resulted into their underperformance in terms of schoolwork and examinations. As we hear in the following narrative from Ines Ondo Ambala in the southwest region, there is hope in the horizon as the defense and security forces step in with intervention.
The constant electricity shortage is a major problem in households in the southwest region in particular, and in Cameroon in general. As days go by, the situation has become deplorable. It is the case here in Ombe, where these children find it difficult to study their lessons in the evening due to the absence of electricity. This has had a negative impact on the academic performance.
To have electricity most of the times is really difficult, so it makes it really difficult for especially those that are in the examination classes to study at night, because most of the times there is no light.
We have suffered a lot concerning light. Because life here is on and off, and we with numerous children, we can't still talk. Without any generator, there is no success because we need a lot of life always.
Defense and security forces, in a bid to reinforce cooperation ties with the population, have provided a solution to the needs of these inhabitants.
Rema orphanage address the request generator, then our hierarchy, the general, donate a generator so that they can help the orphans.
The civilian and military cooperation is saluted by both beneficiaries and the local administrative authorities of Tiku subdivision.
I'm very, very happy for this gesture which was being offered by B to this Rema orphanage. Bringing this generator of this capacity is to show that they are also in line with the principle of civil responsibility of the people.
The initiative of the Rapid Intervention Battalion has brought smile in the faces of these vulnerable persons in Ombe, a move which seeks to reinforce the collaboration with the local population in order to better ensure their security.
Now on to something else, because fresh revelations from the Ministry of Public Health indicate that the vast majority of Cameroonians are either unaware or totally unconcerned about their statuses, knowledge of their genotypes, if you don't mind, when they want to get married. In bids to curb the prevalence of sickle cell disease across the country, several civil registry officials have been drilled on the best techniques to counsel people who are preparing to get married. Here's D. Maureen.
The Civil Status Registry will begin sensitizing would-be couples on the importance for them to know their genotypes before marriage. A recent report from the Ministry of Public Health and from associations and foundations fighting the sickle cell cause, a majority of Cameroonians are unaware of their genotypes before marriage.
People who are in the first contact with future couples, the staff of the Civil Status Registry were supposed to also know what is sickle cell. Before they actually advise future couples, they should be trained so that they can answer the frequently asked questions. So today was the training of staff of the Douala 4 Council.
To permit us continue to carry on the operation Know Your Genotype. In our program, we're supposed to work with the councils, and today we are at the council of Douala 4, and this is just marvelous.
To bridge the gap, the Ashu Egbe Foundation has embarked on a project to train officials of Civil Status Registry of councils on techniques of educating, sensitizing, and persuading couples on the needs for them to know their genotypes. Their first target was at the Douala 4 Council, October 26. Similar trainings will hold in all the regions of Cameroon.
Now, ignorance, they say, is a major stumbling block in various aspects of life. Up next on our economy page, Gladys Sambo says many enterprises across Cameroon remain ignorant of the necessity to dematerialize the securities of their shareholders. It is on that backdrop that hundreds of company representatives from across the country are meeting in Kribi for better edification on the importance of the registration of the shares and stocks of their shareholders. A report.
At least 656 of the 1,200 companies in Cameroon identified by the Autonomous Sinking Fund have fulfilled their legal obligations under the dematerialization process. The general manager of the Autonomous Sinking Fund, Richard Evina Obam, estimates there is still delay in the process. That is why representatives from companies in the 10 regions of Cameroon are meeting in Kribi, South region, to receive ample knowledge on the February 2014 law that warrants their structures to be digitalized under the Autonomous Sinking Fund.
The main objectives of this forum are to present the advantage of the dematerialization, the importance and most of all the urgency of the complying with the mechanisms of the dematerialization of security.
Dematerialization serves as a means to promote transparency, traceability, and expansion of the companies that codify and register their issues under an account with the autonomous sinking phone.
Through the dematerialization, we also have transparency on the operation and the share of the creators for their shares. There's no possibility to lose or to seek the shares. And now everything is online.
The representatives from the public limited companies are therefore expected to take the opportunity and register the stocks of their shareholders.
Now, despite the ongoing global outcry regarding the devastating impacts of climate change across the world, residents of Cameroon's coastlines appear unconcerned. They have continued chopping down mangroves, which serve as breeding grounds for some fish species, as well as for the prevention of coastal erosion. Environmentalists are warning that if the authorities fail to spring up to action soonest, it could be too late in the very near future. Now, they've launched a campaign involving young children for the protection of the mangroves across Cameroon. Ndi Maureen once again.
The state of Cameroon's mangrove forest is deplorable due to numerous destructive practices. Environmentalists have cried out.
It is noticed that the Cameroon mangrove is fast disappearing due to irregular anthropogenic activities.
It is CS-provoking when environmentalists survey the Dibombari coastline.
A good example is at the area of Yapaki under the Dibombari subdivision. The mangrove that we used to see around the coast is no longer there. Now we can only find houses that have been constructed in that area. That is not only the case. We see it in most of the coast of Cameroon, that urbanization is taking the place of mangroves.
Environmental actors are opting for complete reforestation of the Dibombari coastline, a project that had kicked off already with the planting of trees in some areas. Non-governmental organizations like CWCS insist government must take crucial measures by preserving and protecting mangroves. Protecting mangroves means protecting aquatic life, the environment, and human habitats.
Cameroon mangrove restoration and resilience. That is the main aim. We want everybody to take action in the planting of these mangroves. Anywhere you are in Cameroon, you should put in mind that mangrove ecosystem is in danger.
The warns if actions are not taken, the worst might happen in the near future.
Now let's talk something else on a more lighter note, and let's talk about automobiles and horns. These are devices designed and fitted on vehicles with a particular purpose, the emission of warning signals. But across Douala, as you will hear in the following report by Stephanie Chin, horns have become a source of inner-city noise pollution, and fingers of accusation are rising in one direction: motorbike taxi riders. A report.
Horns for motorbikes almost at every spot and all day long within the city. Designed to serve as a warning signal, but some commercial bike riders nowadays rather use it for multiple reasons best known to them. With the thousands of bikes that are found in Douala, it is evident that the sector goes with noise pollution. There are times you have to horn to get passengers. At other times, you horn to let the passenger know his or her destination is approved. Other times, you horn if there's a situation wherein one must signal for someone in front to move. I horn when I find something that can disturb me, or I'm looking for a way to signal someone that I am around. According to road users, the improper use of horning signals pose a threat on public roads. It gets people tired all day long. For those of us who walk by the roadside, we return tired, we are exhausted. Though misused, the importance of horning signals remain inevitable. We use horns only if it's absolutely necessary. At night, generally from 8 p.m. till morning, it's prohibited to use horns. Rather use light, and horns are generally prohibited in public areas like hospitals. Despite lessons taught in driving schools, some commercial bike riders remain recalcitrant on the use of these warning signals. Road users have equally blamed the situation on the fact that some of these bike riders did not go through the driving school.
So we drop the curtains on tonight's installment of the news in English on Canal International. Up next, Mark Chuamo in the build-up to the Qatar 2022 World Cup on the debrief at 1950. Alain Ghislain Kanga comes up with more news in French. Have a great weekend, and let's meet again on Monday, same place, the same time. Bye-bye.